The ocean was restless that night, a dark abyss concealing secrets that no one on board the Oceanic Explorer was truly prepared to face quite yet. A sudden scream echoes through the salt air as a massive tentacle emerges from the shadows, dragging a terrified sailor into the crushing black depths below. 45 days ago, the mission began with high hopes and calm waters, as the Oceanic Explorer set out to map the deepest trenches of the world. Deep within the control room, the sonar technician noticed something impossible, a massive biological signature moving with incredible speed, 2,000 meters beneath the research ship. The signal flickered and vanished into the darkness, only to reappear moments later, much closer to the surface, defying everything they knew about deep-sea creatures. Suddenly, and the ambient temperature around the vessel began to plummet unnaturally, as if the very heart of the ocean was turning into a frozen, dark tomb. The remote camera feed captured a glimpse of something gargantuan, a shadow so vast it seemed to swallow the light, moving with a predatory, silent grace. At first, we thought it was just a glitch in our sophisticated equipment, but then we realized that something was actually hunting us from the depths. The sonar pings grew frantic and louder, echoing through the hollow halls of the ship like a heartbeat, warning us of the approach of an ancient. Shadows beneath the surface grow larger as the vessel drifts into unknown waters, while the crew begins to feel a strange, chilling drop in temperature. A low-frequency hum began to vibrate through the steel hull, a sound that wasn't mechanical, but felt like the breathing of a monster from myth. The peace of the morning was shattered as the water around the ship began to boil and churn, signaling the arrival of the nightmare from below. One massive tentacle, thick as a tree trunk, broke the surface for a fleeting second, leaving the crew in a state of absolute frozen shock. The crew stood paralyzed on the deck, staring into the dark waves, asking each other if they had truly seen the impossible monster rising from deep. Without warning, a dozen tentacles erupted from the sea, slamming down onto the deck with the force of a tidal wave, crushing everything in their path. A young sailor was snatched from his post, his screams disappearing into the roar of the ocean as he was dragged toward the hungry, dark water. Inside the ship, the world turned upside down as the vessel tilted violently, emergency lights flashing red, while sirens wailed a desperate warning of total destruction. The ship groaned under the pressure, tilting at a dangerous 30-degree angle as the Kraken pulled the entire structure toward the dark depths of the... Then, through a small porthole, a giant golden eye appeared, watching us with a chilling intelligence that proved this was no ordinary animal from nature. The creature's gaze was cold and ancient, a predator that had ruled the darkness for millennia, now claiming our ship as its latest, most helpless prey. The sound of metal screaming filled the air as the tentacles tightened their grip, crushing the steel hull like it was made of nothing but paper. This was not a simple animal attack. This was an encounter with something else entirely, a force of nature that we were never meant to see. The radio operator screamed an SOS into the void, hoping that someone, anyone, was listening to our final, desperate pleas for help before the end. On the horizon, a glimmer of hope appeared as a Navy destroyer raced toward our position, and its powerful engines cutting through the treacherous and stormy seas. Armed drones were launched into the air, their sleek forms silhouetted against the dark sky as they moved to engage the monster attacking our research vessel. A torpedo found its mark, exploding against one of the massive tentacles, causing the beast to roar in a sound that vibrated through the very water. For a brief moment, the Kraken recoiled, its grip loosening as the pain of the explosion forced it to rethink its assault on our broken ship. But the victory was short-lived as a tentacle lashed out like a whip, smashing the drone into 1,000 pieces with a single, terrifyingly fast strike. Military helicopters circled overhead, their powerful searchlights cutting through the spray and rain, revealing the true, horrific scale of the beast we were actually fighting. The military drones fired their first volley of kinetic rounds, forcing the beast to recoil briefly, but the hope of a quick victory is very short-lived. It wasn't retreating, it was adapting to our weapons, its bioluminescent skin glowing with a strange anger as it prepared for a much more violent strike. A massive blow from the creature's limb cracked the outer hull, and we could hear the terrifying sound of water rushing into the ship's lower compartments. The computer systems flickered with a dire warning, showing that our hull integrity had dropped to a critical level, and the ship was slowly dying beneath. The ship was pulled so violently that the deck became a vertical wall, leaving us hanging on for our lives as the abyss reached for us. One of our scientists lost his grip, sliding toward the edge, until a fellow crew member caught his hand in a desperate act of true bravery. The Kraken delivered a final, crushing blow to the bridge, and the reinforced glass spiderwebbing under a pressure that no human engineering was ever designed to withstand.
Keep
We
moving
could
up.
hear the glass groaning, a
We're almost there.
high-pitched scream of material failure that signaled the ocean was about to come rushing in to claim us all. With hull integrity at 12%, we knew we only had seconds left to live before the Oceanic Explorer became a permanent part of the seafloor. The captain made a final, desperate decision, activating the sonic pulse at maximum power, sending a massive shockwave through the water to daze the monster. The creature's massive body rippled and twitched in agony as the sonic wave tore through its nervous system, forcing it to release its hold on us. Slowly, the massive tentacles slid off our battered hull, sinking back into the dark, silent water as the ancient beast finally retreated into the deep abyss. The ship slowly leveled out, and for the first time in hours, the only sound was the wind, and leaving us in a heavy, haunted silence. A massive, severed piece of the creature's tentacle floated on the surface, a grim souvenir of the battle that had nearly cost us our lives today. We didn't defeat it, we simply survived its wrath, and as the rescue ships approached, we knew our lives would never be the same again. Back in the laboratory, the atmosphere was thick with a strange tension as we laid the severed piece of the beast on a cold steel table. The flesh was still alive, pulsing and twitching with an eerie, autonomous energy that suggested the creature's biology was far more complex than we imagined. A suction cup suddenly clamped onto a scientist's hand, a reflexive action that sent a chill through everyone in the room as we realized its power. When we cut into the muscle, we didn't find blood, but a glowing blue fluid that shimmered with a mysterious, otherworldly light under our lab lamps. Under the microscope, the cells were moving and rearranging themselves at an impossible speed, showing a level of regeneration that defied every known law of biology. In a moment of morbid curiosity, the ship's cook prepared a small piece of the meat, his hands trembling as he placed it into the pan. The cook places a thick slice of the alien flesh onto a searing hot pan, watching in silence as the muscles contract and move unnaturally. Even as it cooked, the meat seemed to fight back, its suction cups gripping the hot metal in a final futile display of its incredible biological. One crew member took a bite, but his expression immediately turned to one of pure discomfort, as if he could feel the meat still moving. He dropped his fork, his face pale, claiming that even after being swallowed, the piece of the creature felt like it was trying to escape his. We realized then that this was something that should never have been touched, a forbidden relic of the deep that we had foolishly tried to understand. The ship sailed on into the night, but the air felt heavy with the weight of our discovery and the terrifying knowledge of what lived below. In the darkened sonar room, a lone technician watched in horror as more signals began to appear on the screen, each one larger than the last. One signal became 2, then 5, then 10, until the screen was filled with the signatures of giants, all of them converging on our lone vessel. We were never hunting it, we were simply trespassing in their territory, and now the rest of the hive was rising to defend their ancient home. As the sonar pings faster and faster, a massive ancient eye opens in the total darkness of the trench. It's watching the intruders from the world above.